The German Federal Court of Auditors and the Austrian Court of Audit have carried out a parallel audit on how their respective governments meet their responsibilities in connection with shareholdings in the EIB, the European Investment Bank, which also included the bank's supervisory and control framework. Based on their findings, both supreme audit institutions present recommendations to the EIB's shareholders, which are summarised in a joint report. The European Investment Bank, based in Luxembourg, is the world's largest multilateral development bank. It seeks to contribute to the balanced and steady development of the EU single market by funding public and private investments through low-interest loans and guarantees. At the end of 2022, the bank's subscribed capital accounted for almost 250 billion euros, raised entirely by its shareholders, the 27 EU member states. With a share of around 19% each, Germany, France and Italy are the EIB's largest shareholders. The following figure shows the distribution of the capital subscribed by all EIB shareholders at this time period. The EU member states must provide their shares from their national budgets. Furthermore, they are liable for the EU budget guarantees made to the EIB. The EIB's operating activities can therefore lead to significant budget risks for the member states. Against this background, the supreme audit institutions from Austria and Germany have examined whether their respective governments are sufficiently committed to ensuring professional structures and adequate risk management, as well as appropriate supervision and control at the EIB. So what findings have been made? Firstly, in response to changing market needs, the EIB deliberately entered into higher risk operations with an expected default rate of at least 2%. While the volume of higher risk operations at the EIB's own risk was still 1.8 billion euros in 2018, it was more than 4 times higher in 2022. With the EIB envisaging further expansion for the years from 2023 to 2025. The importance of the EIB as a bank, development institution and manager of public funds has thus increased considerably. The EIB and its shareholders must keep pace with this change. Secondly, with the Audit Committee, the EIB has an internal supervisory body whose powers and responsibilities are set out in the rules of procedure and in the statute. However, the statute does not contain any provisions governing the independence of the Audit Committee. The shareholders should therefore ensure that such regulations are included in the statute, the aim being to boost the independence of the Audit Committee and its members. Thirdly, on withdrawing from the EU, the United Kingdom ceased to be a shareholder in the EIB. The remaining 27 EU member states were to take over the British share. At the same time, they decided to fundamentally reform the EIB's governance, which included changes to decision-making procedures and professional risk management. However, the implementation of this reform took several years. Most crucially, the reform measures and their overall impact have not yet been evaluated externally. That's why the shareholders should further consolidate the EIB's governance. Despite some progress at the EIB, the main issues relate to significant gaps in the external supervisory and control framework. On the one hand, the EIB is not subject to any independent external banking supervision. The internal review and evaluation process has been established to address this shortcoming. However, this falls far short of the EU banking standard because it lacks independence, sufficient autonomy, consistency, and enforcement. On the other hand, the operations of the EIB at its own risk are neither audited by the European Court of Auditors nor by national supreme audit institutions. This means that, in addition to external banking supervision, the EIB lacks a second key element of external control. The EIB shareholders should therefore ensure that the supervisory and control framework is strengthened to improve the protection mechanism at the EIB and reduce the liability risks for the EU member states. These measures will also increase transparency and promote accountability towards the member states' parliaments. This matter should concern all EIB shareholders who are called upon to respond to the challenges outlined here in the interest of their respective national budgets and the citizens of the European Union.